Ah! Okay, so Rob's in this one.
I just happened to be driving by.
Okay, so actually, he specifically said, for the last episode of the second season, he really wanted to come in. He really wanted to talk about that episode, and so we have the Crossroads of Destiny, and yeah, shit. A lot of stuff happens in this one.
Shit, exactly. Shit goes down.
Yeah, no, this sort of like. So I think I might have said before, it's kind of like Game of Thrones, kind of. Except it feels Game of Thrones like half the people be dead. Mostly all of them would probably be dead. Avatar would be dead.
No, they just
by
get
now.
knocked unconscious or imprisoned in this show.
And then killed. And then they chop their head off. Make it look like they're gonna live and then chop their head off or something.
Yeah, I think your hopes for a killing spree ending aren't really gonna materialize. But
well, man, wouldn't that just be a twist? Just like last episode, just suddenly like. Well, technically they do. I mean, he does sort of die.
Everybody dies, and Aang is the only one left standing, crying over the world that's been burnt to a crisp. What have I done?
This one slits his neck.
Unlike Superman, where they're just like, "You saved us."
So. Well, anyway, okay, so we got this episode. Well, first of all, I mean, just, bad news is coming when it says previously an Avatar. It's like, if you die, all the avatars will be destroyed and we will not be able to come back. And it's like...
No pressure.
Oh, that's a great lead-in. Like, I'm sure everything's going to be fine in this episode.
Yeah.
So we pretty much have Azula and her gang have pretty much taken over the Earth Kingdom, through I wonder if they were referencing how when she was saying, destroy it from the inside instead of the outside, referencing how the drill was taken down. Pretty much how Aang took it down. I wonder if that was sort of the idea that she that's how they took that down. Maybe we should use sort of the same ideology here.
Yeah, I think so. And what a great reveal too, because when they showed up in the in Suki's armor,
Where is Suki, by the way?
That's the great question, which is what makes this whole thing really creepy, is she's never acknowledged, and it's not enough. Oh, well, they forgot about her. This whole time I've been watching the show, and this last episode in this season, as I go on into third season, I'm just like, where is Suki? What the? I was like, this can't be good.
I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it because on the cover of the second season, you see like him holding her when really it should probably be the other way around. He's the one having the hard time.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's like, they're gonna be the item, and it's like. She's in, 2 episodes? And then she's, out of commission for the second season.
It was a very Star Wars poster kind of cover to this season. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. But.
So, yeah, I have no idea where the hell she is.
You can only assume it's bad, because the last time we saw her was her and Azula.
Yeah, and they have her clothes, obviously.
And
so
I find it, I find it way, way more creepier that we don't know what happened to her.
Yeah, and then
she's just dropped off the planet, and
so pretty much you have this big fights going on. You have this wonderful line where she double crosses or triple crosses, whatever, the second in command of the Earth Kingdom.
Yeah,
and
great.
he's like, "Now's the part where I double cross you, attack her." Nobody even tries, and she's like, "They're just waiting to see who will win. Who do you think is gonna win?" And he just knows he's lost, because if they try an actual battle, she will whoop him. And just by looking into her eyes, he has that beat of sweat, like, no, she has my moves calculated all out. She's got me. And when he bows down and says, "You beat me in my own game," God, that fucking awesome line where she's like, "You weren't even a player."
I love it too that the way he just totally surrendered. He's like, no, this isn't happening. He's like, I've lost.
It reminds me of that movie Hero with Jet Li, where they're sitting right across from each other, and they know that both of them are so good at their moves, and that he's trained so well that no matter what he does, he can't win, because if he tries to go for his sword, he will die. Now it's a battle of
He
wits.
just reads instantly, this will not end well.
Yeah, that
like
he's lost.
Yeah, just staring into her eyes, he's like, she will kill me.
So you got
it's a great insight into Azula's character too, because she trusts nobody, and therefore she's able to out-scheme the schemer because she trusts nobody. Mm-hmm. And there's a payoff to this later, which I think is just great as the series goes on.
Well, and what I love is I was saying in the episode before how, she even lets herself get caught, like whatever the earthbenders have her, and she's like, what do you want? You want to strike a deal? I'm never going to deal with you. And it's like, she could kill these people, like, in half a second, but she's playing weak and dumb, and it's such a great scene when she walks away and she has that little smirk, and it's just, man, what a good villain. And she's only like, what, 13? I mean, fucking A, what a great villain.
I think her and Zuko are a little older.
Are there? They're
Than
supposed
Katara
to be older?
and Sokka.
Well, she's younger, I think.
I've never quite figured out their exact ages. I think Aang's the youngest, isn't there? Or Aang and Toph, I think, are the youngest.
Aang looks the youngest, and Azula looks like second oldest, and Zuko probably the oldest.
Zuko and Azula look... No, doesn't she call him little brother?
No, she's the
big
younger.
brother?
No, she's the younger one, yeah.
Their ages don't really matter that much to me. I mean, it's really...
Well, I think so I mean... You got this going on. You have this great big fight at the end. Aang finally surrenders, for lack of a better way of putting it, caring about Katara. Sees she's in danger, but realizes he has to block her out of his mind. He has to let go of her. He has to let go of the care for her in order to really give into the Avatar state. And sure enough, what happens? He gets axed off. And she comes in to save the day. I'm wondering if that's going to come in later, if it's like, oh, by the way, I totally blocked you out of my mind and said you didn't matter to achieve the Avatar state. Thanks for using your magic water that can only be used on one person and totally bringing me back from the dead and saving me and thus the entire world. Thanks. I mean, that's like, dude.
Yeah,
that's harsh when you really think about it. He finally has to put her out of his mind and just sacrifice caring about her. And sure enough, what saves the day is her caring about him and her making the sacrifice of that magic water.
This whole theme about what the Avatar demands versus what Aang needs to be emotionally satisfied carries on into the third season.
Yeah, so
carries on really into the finale, because the finale basically addresses a lot of that, which is, well, if I have to completely detach, does that make me sort of a robot? Do I have to do exactly what the Guru is telling or what the Avatars have done?
And again,
so it really is it is addressed. I think this sets that up.
And very, very adult themes. Like, that's a very tough thing to address, is how much do you detach and how much is needed and how far is too far, how little is too little. And again, it really put you in a circumstance where you're really questioning this. Like, what was the right move or what wasn't the right move here? Because he does get killed, and ultimately it's her connection with him that brings him back. And her sacrifice, really. I mean, she could use that water for anybody. She almost gave it to Zuko.
There's a huge sort of Taoist element to this whole show, which is things seem to work out. And this is always the clever thing.
Well, it certainly seems to balance out, too.
There's always a clever thing, I thought, to Star Wars, the original trilogy. I'm not going to get into the prequels, but it runs on that same concept, particularly in Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, which is mistakes happen, and yet still somehow through those mistakes, good things come out of it. That you can never exactly predict what the future is going to hold. And so all of these things keep happening, and technically you would say, well, maybe Aang made the wrong move, but it all ends up somehow working out. Like, they make something out of it. They keep persevering.
It's adapting and working with your environment, and bad things come your way, work with it.
It's like swimming. You can either struggle against the current or kind of work with it and stay afloat. So.
Yeah. Now, with that said, the one scene that we talked about this a little bit before, that I was kind of torn on, and I'm still kind of torn on, is Zuko's turn at the end, when he switches back pretty much to the dark side. And for me, I don't mind that he turns back, and I could see it happening. What bothers me is that they spend so much time showing him. They show him getting sick through the change of letting go of the Avatar. They show the duality happening in this great dream sequence with these two dragons. They show him finally coming to grips and being actually happy just sweeping the floors and making tea. I mean, it doesn't look like he's faking. He seems legitimately happy. And he's even willing to go out to the sisters and say, no, I can't run forever. I gotta start my new life. I have to, be who I am now, and I can't have this haunting me. And within a millisecond, it seems to turn back. And I'm not against the turn. I'm against the fact that it was so quick after we showed such a long process the other way. And I wasn't sure how to feel about that.
I didn't believe... Okay, I mean... Dante Bosco is a great voice actor. So when I say this is not criticizing his voice acting. When I saw those episodes originally where he had become nice, good morning, Uncle, it's a great day, and then I didn't believe him for a second. And I'm not entirely convinced that the show is telling you, no, you have to believe this, that he suddenly really wants to be a villager. I think that performance, and I could be talking completely out of my ass here, and, he could come out at some point and talk about the show, and I could be proven completely wrong. I think some of that performance is the character of Zuko trying to convince himself that this is what he wants. I don't think he ever fully believed it. Every time I see those episodes, he is so nice to such a degree, and it's such a turnaround that I always was sitting there in the back of my head going, I think he's still very confused. I think he wants to believe this. This is somebody who is being handed this gift, and he wants to grab it, and he really desperately wants to say, this is what I want, this is what I really want, but deep down inside he's like, something's still not right. And that is his character arc the whole way through. It is always something is still not right, and it's about
But don't you think they would have
that.
shown that they're so good at showing just the little twinges or the little turns or the little frowns or smirks and stuff? Don't you think they would have said? Because, every time it leaves on a shot with him, he is smiling and he is happy. If anything, to me, it seems like it's building up that everything's going to come crumbling down. He's happy, yeah, of course things are going to come crumbling down.
Why would he, though, show that when there's nothing else on the table to make him believe otherwise in that moment? See, what happens in this episode is she gives him, Azula gives him the offer and says, you can come back, we can get the Avatar, this is your chance to restore your honor. Before that wasn't on the table. When he accepts this and says, all right, we'll live life as a villager, which is something that eventually he seemed to come around, but he's clearly uncomfortable with it for a number of episodes, almost the whole season. So that when he makes that turn at the end, to me, that was him hitting rock bottom, going, I have no other option on the table. Maybe this is my one chance. Maybe I'll start to embrace it. When she comes out, though, and people work like this, they'll accept something, and then you give them that one bit of temptation, like, oh, it's on the table again. Maybe I can do this. Like, they had blocked it out of their mind, and that one thing comes forward, and he takes it.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's what I was guessing they're probably going for, is that even though you're so committed to something, when that, he has not been, making tea and sweeping floors as long as he has been chasing after the Avatar.
This way.
And when that change happened, well, hold on, I'm somewhat agreeing with you here. When that change is offered, and it's made clear, even though it's by Azula, which I'm still like, wait, she's tried to kill you several times, but when the option is finally made there and it seems very real and very physical and can happen and can actually be delivered to you, that everything you had before just fails you, and it's almost like a total relapse to what you had before, and it's like you can't help it because it's just been in there longer. But if that is the case, why couldn't they show him, like, go back to maybe that vision with the dragons or a little bit more? You see him thinking for a little bit, granted, and I'm sure they're going more for the shock value of it, that he turned. But why didn't they show a little bit more the turmoil of it? Because, I don't know, to me it really seemed like he was content with the life that was finally being handed to him, and he went through that sickness, and he went through the dreams, and why would they show that if they didn't want to get across that he was really, really becoming one with that world and actually enjoying it?
Because it's an addiction. The thing about Zuko is, if you watch this entire season and look at it as his wanting to get his honor back, this obsession with getting Aang, this is all an addiction of his. And what he does at the end of the second season is no different than an alcoholic in a low moment, turning back to drinking. And you could say, well, why would you be sober for all this time and then just go right back to drinking?
Correct.
And part of it, you're right. I think it is for shock value. And I think that it's much more of a jaw-dropping moment if you don't drop all the little hints that maybe he's going to go back. And I was fine with that, again, because I kind of looked at it as it took him so long to get to that point where he accepted it, that, like, to me, if you really wanted to show that, he was... Basically, I would have had him, if he was really going to be good throughout the rest of it, do that turn much earlier, where he accepts the village life much earlier in the season. But it took so long to get there that I was just thinking, Yeah, I think that was part of their point, is that he's not really accepting this. In the very end, he accepts it because he finally hits that point. I have no other out, nowhere to escape. You know, and
No,
then
but he did.
Azula-
He had Appa. He had Appa there, and he could have waited for the Avatar to come. He had the blue spirit outfit, and his uncle came and said, what do you really want? What is it that you really crave? And he turns away, and that's when the sickness begins. That's when the dream begins. He did have that option.
You mean the option to go back and capture Aang?
To get the Avatar, yeah. To regain his honor for the Fire Nation.
But the thing is, I think he was still... See, that's where I think his uncle's influence comes in. You know, I think if his uncle was not there, he actually would have done it. You know, but that's the point is...
But his uncle was there later, too, saying, Zuko, don't do it. Don't turn to Azula. Don't go there. I mean, it was still...
But I think there's a difference between having Appa there and concocting an entire giant plan...
And knowing the Avatar's in the other room.
The Avatar's in the other room. Yeah, I mean, that's my point. It's like, it's way more immediate, you know? And the other thing is, particularly in the rest of the season, he seems always in these sort of situations where there's 1,000 things going on. It's the same whenever he's the blue spirit, you know? It's like, there's a ton of things going on. I think that when you're presented with the choice between, oh, you have this battle going on, I found Appa, I can do this, you know, there's this whole Earth Kingdom conspiracy, which he seems to be aware of, you know, you're kind of busy. You know, in this scenario, there's the Avatar right there. You can go get him. Like, I think that temptation of just like, it's gift wrapped with a nice bow versus the other one where he has to really work at it and he has the time to think.
Well,
I think in that moment of panic, he just was like, I gotta do this.
Well, and I will say this, again, this is something I bring up often. I mean, the only reason I've said before that I'm talking about this at all is that this show, again, has just really, really raised the bar in this. I would not be talking in this great detail usually about any other family show, and I do realize that's the term is family show, not kid show. This is not for kids, this is for families.
Well, I think just from a narrative perspective, I mean, if you want probably the ultimate reason, it is shock value, but to me that doesn't make it any real... to me that doesn't make it worse for it, because honestly I thought it was such a great twist that, you know, and looking back on it, I just always justified as, yeah, I'm not sure I ever fully believed him anyway, so to me, it just makes sense.
Well, and again, you have this long show. I mean, we know how tough it is. I mean, and a lot of writers do, how, you know, to squeeze so much into, 24 minutes?
Yeah.
And to have character, and to have story, and to give a damn about it, to have this pacing, and to have this long story go over, and episodic episodes, and you know, ones that are self-contained, and ones that have to continue the story. I mean, again, to get any of this is very impressive, and even if there is this moment where I'm sort of like, that could have been done a bit better, it's still fucking impressive, and this is still a really good finale for the second season. You know, it's still a good... I mean, you just watch it and you just go, holy shit.
It follows the tradition of... I'm not going to say middle story syndrome, but in particular, I mean, this is the Empire Strikes Back.
It's the second act.
The series,
Now the real conflict is in. The first is introduction, second is the conflict, and third is the resolution of the conflict.
Not only what a great second act, but if you're going to do the Empire Strikes Back, this nailed it. I mean, when I think about the second act, new locale... a conspiracy, the way it ends, you know, I really half expected, you know, like Aang to just ride away on up and be like, don't worry, we'll get him back from that bounty hunter. Like,
Billy D. Aang.
It's really, really... to me, it's obvious. I don't mean this in a negative way. I don't mean like, they're ripping it off. But it's very clear they watch Star Wars and were just like, yeah, we can do this. It's very close. It's very close in structure.
When the Guru, I even say in the last one, I'm like, you know, yes, and Yoda says to Skywalker, come back or you won't learn your training. Oh, I'm sorry, the Guru says to Aang and says, come back, you won't learn your training, forget your friends. You know, that one I saw more, I mean, with this one you have the character pretty much dead, you know he's brought back, but I'm assuming they're insinuating now that the Avatar state is like, kaput, like he's the last one. Cause, I mean, why else would they show that previously on element there? Or why would they have that even in there if he dies as the Avatar?
Think about this all together. You've got the same group of characters going to a new locale where there is a conspiracy going on that can basically undermine their whole mission. You've got a conflict with your main villains, which he loses. they all ride away basically sort of into the sunset, worried. Some of the characters are missing.
But they're not
It's-
going after
We had a
Alfred,
wise
though,
guru.
but,
We
yeah.
had. I'm not saying this in a negative way. It's actually a compliment because I think the original Star Wars trilogy was brilliant.
Yeah, it's a great to
And
be
if you're,
continued.
and if
You
you're,
have to see the next one. You
and
just have to.
so many movies, there are so many people that rip Star Wars off, and you just feel like, yeah, you just ripped Star Wars off. There's not that much.
You did it because Star Wars
Yeah,
did. Here, it
you
really
haven't brought
fits.
anything to the table.
Like, this is how good storytelling works.
This is the best homage to Empire Strikes Back I have ever seen. Like, it nailed it, it got it right, and it's its own thing.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
was gonna say,
saying
while it's its own thing.
yeah, I'm not saying it as a negative, but I'm saying there is a definitely clear connection that I think they're like, yeah, we're kind of doing Star Wars with each season, particularly seasons 2 and 3, because I've seen all 3 now, so... Again, not a bad thing, but I think you can't avoid kind of looking at it that way.
Well, I mean, you could even say that the Star Wars trilogies have been doing. I mean, they've been doing what other great trilogies of the past and 3-parters have done. And
just
stuff.
read
I
any,
mean, so-
just read any Joseph Campbell book. I mean, Lucas was just plundering mythical archetypes. So,
Yeah,
and I mean, and
exactly,
this
so,
show
yeah.
does the same thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's
But what,
it's
I
one
like
of the
that you said,
best
it's one of
examples.
it's still its
of-
own thing. As
Yeah,
well.
it's still its own thing, and it's one of the best examples to how to really use mythical archetypes and do something in a similar vein to Star Wars while being its own thing. But structurally speaking, it is very similar, the way the whole plot shaped out in the second season to Empire Strikes Back, and in some ways, the third season reminds me of Jedi and some of the things it does. So, again, not a bad thing. I think that makes it cooler myself. I don't, if it was a lame ripoff of Star Wars, I'd be like, this sucks. But, to me, and it may be unintentional. They may be like, well, we weren't intentionally doing that, but, it's such a part of the culture now that, you may not be able to avoid it. And, I mean, Star Wars was ripping off Tolkien as well, so...
Yeah, a bunch of...
Tolkien
fans
had his
know,
own
and
sources.
mythologies
This goes
and
back
stuff,
to the... Yeah, this goes back to the dawn of time, so...
Yeah, so, bottom line, good ending to a good season. I guess the moral of this whole season is just Earth Kingdom sucks. Stay the fuck away from the Earth Kingdom. It's fucking ass.
It's not Cloud City! Don't go there! Don't go there!
So, I love the second season. Can't wait to see the third season, and that's coming up next. So, we'll see you there.